what we're now looking at is finding the cost of running certain appliances. So just another quick reminder, if we want to work out the running cost, so how much it costs to run something, we're going to work out what the power used of that item is, and we're going to calculate that in kilowatt hours multiplied by the cost of the electricity. And if we want our answer in dollars, we need to make sure your units are dollars per kilowatt hour. Another quick reminder was talking about standby power. So if you have a TV that has standby mode, what it means is if you switch it off on using standby mode, if you try to switch it back on, it does power up quite quickly. But what it means is as it's in standby, it's still using electricity. So there's a bit of a trade-off there. Do you want your TV to turn on faster, or do you want to be using a bit more electricity? So that's something that you may need to consider. When you're solving these problems again, make sure you label everything that you're calculating. Okay, calculate everything a bit at a time. Don't try to do the whole calculation in one go. Particularly for questions that are worth quite a lot of marks, you will lose a lot of marks if you do the wrong calculations or you miss things. So it's important, label everything, know exactly what you're working at each of these steps. So let's have a look at this question. This was a past HSC problem. Okay, so hopefully you'll have a go at these before you watch this video. So the cost of buying a new heater is $990. It's got an energy consumption of 505 kilowatt hours per year. Energy is 35 cents per kilowatt hour. How much will it cost in total? How much will it cost to purchase and then run this heater for 5 years? Okay, so that's a really important thing. Run this heater for 5 years, not just the 1 year. So what we need to do is we're going to need to work out first the cost of the heater and then the cost of the electricity. So the cost of the heater is your purchase cost. And that's simply $990. You're not going to buy a new heater every year. Okay, so you need to make sure you keep that cost separate to the electricity. So what we can now do is we'll work out how much it costs to run the heater for 1 year first. Okay, so the energy cost per year. We know that we're using 505 kilowatt hours every year, and the cost is $0.35, okay, or 35 cents. And that comes out to be 176.75 cents. So that's the cost for 1 year. We need to work out for 5 years. So for 5 years, we're going to take 176.75 cents and multiply that by 5. And that comes out to be $883.75. If you wanted to, you could do all of that in the one calculation and you'd still be okay. But if you forget to do your 35 or you forget the 5, then you're going to be in a whole world of trouble. Okay, particularly like this question, at the moment it's they've given you your cost in dollars. If it gave it to you in cents and you forget to recalculate that, then you're going to get the question wrong. Okay, so always one step at a time is better than trying to throw everything in together. So we've got our cost of the electricity, we've got our cost of buying the heater. So the total cost is $990 plus $883.75. And that's going to come out to be $1,873.75. I think one of the biggest mistakes that some people will do is they'll add all of the costs together and then multiply everything by 5, including the cost of the heater, which is absolutely wrong because you're not buying a new heater every year. You only buy it once, and the electricity is used for the 5 years. Okay, so just be very careful with that. Let's have a look at the next one. So every day, a 1200 watt microwave is used for 45 minutes at 40% power. Electricity is charged at 25 cents per kilowatt hour. What is the cost of running this microwave for 180 days? Okay, so there's quite a few things here. This bit is probably going to throw a lot of people. So it's a 1200 watt microwave used at 40% power for 45 minutes every day. So what this means is if it's a 40% power, if we're using it at 40% power, then the power usage is 1200 times 40%. So we're not using the full 1200, we're using 40% of that. When we work that out, it's 480 watts. Okay, so we're using 480 watts each day. To work out the daily use, it's 480 watts and we're only using it for 45 minutes. Now 45 minutes is 3/4 of an hour. Okay, be careful with that. 3/4 of an hour was 0.75. If you're worried you're going to get that wrong, just write it as 45 over 60. Okay, so 45 minutes is 3/4 of an hour. So when we multiply that, the daily use is 360 watt hours. Note that we do change the units here because we have 480, which was watts, and 0.75 was your hours. So it's kind of like you times your units together. Turns into a watt hour. All right, so we've got how much we're using every day. We're using this for 180 days. So then the total usage is 360 watt hours multiplied by 180 days. And that's going to be 64,800 watt hours. Some people will take that and then go, okay, we're going to multiply that by the electricity and then we're going to be sweet. But you need to remember that this is kilowatt hours, but we've got watt hours. So what we need to do is we need to divide this by 1,000 to get the kilowatt hours before we can multiply things together. So that's 64.8 kilowatt hours, and then we can work out the total cost. So the total cost is 64.8 times 0.25, and that's going to equate to $16.20. So hopefully that's a good revision of how to solve these sorts of problems. Again, the setting out of these questions is the most important part. Make sure you know what you're doing and also setting out so that the marker knows exactly what you're trying to calculate.